Welcome back to Real Gun Adventures. Well, this is a Westlake B2, sometimes known as a BAM B2 or an SMK B2 and various other names. This one is circa 1990s, so it's 30 years or so old. As far as I'm aware, I'm the fourth owner. I got this in reasonable condition. It was rusty, but it cocked and fired, and I've had it kicking around for quite some time. Rust wise, it's pretty much all gone, and all I did was coat it ballistone, let it soak, take it off with a very fine brass white brush, recoat it, and do that every couple of weeks for a while until it looked good. And actually the metal work does look pretty good. Now, I'm not going to review this as such because there's no need to. Everybody knows these, everyone's got an opinion. What I'm going to do is give this a new lease of life. There's a new home waiting for this, and I'm going to sort out the stock, a little bit more cosmetic work on it, and I'm going to get it so it can shoot straight. Now, the barrel itself isn't bad. B2s are renowned for being inconsistent, that's the word. This one does shoot straight and it's consistent, but it's consistently off target by about 2 to 3 inches, and the further out you go the worse that gets. That's because this foresight, this little hooded or shrouded bead on the end, is welded on, and it's welded on around about 1 millimetre off to the right. There's no windage adjustment on the sights like you do have elevation, so it does mean you have to learn about holdover, which isn't a bad thing. But I think if I put a scope or even a red dot on this, I can eliminate that problem, and then it'll be quite a good little air rifle. Now, just a quick overview. The B2, been around for a long time. As you know, it's a copy, Chinese copy of the Diana 25, with some differences. For example, the bridge catch is unique to these, it wasn't on the Dianas. Now, in their heyday, the Diana 25 were good rifles. Their heyday was somewhere between the 1920s and the 1940s. You know, in the 50s they had a resurgence, and they disappeared completely by the mid-80s. But that's for reasons other than quality and build. It's because of issues with the two companies that made them. Anyway, I won't dwell on that. There's a lot of history behind the Dianas and these things. Basically, the Chinese got hold of one, copied it as best they could with their skill and materials. They found ways to do things much cheaper. They found ways to take things away, and they found ways to add things on, and we've ended up with the infamous iconic B2 rifle. Now, my first ever proper air rifle was one of these, and I loved it, and I had it for probably a couple of years. I shot it a lot of fun with it, and because of that I moved up to a BSA Mercury, and then realised just how terrible this was. The Mercury was just a chalk and cheese, but I'd learned to shoot with one of these, and I knew about holdover, I understood recoil, I knew how to take it apart, I could clear jams, I could general maintenance, lubricate the spring, clean the barrel, all things that I probably would never have learned to do if I bought myself a BSA Mercury or an Air Sporter or whatever was the flavour of the month at the same time. So I learned a lot from this, and it's given me a really good foundation, and I'm not the only one. Not this one, but these B2s have brought more people into the hobby and the sport of air rifle shooting than any other rifle. Now the thing is, every time I talk about these, I get quite an emotive response. People love them or they hate them. So rather than talk about what's wrong with it, because we probably all know what's wrong with it, let's talk about what's right with it. I'm going to have a little shoot with it as well to show you how good it is. It's 30-year-old. It's had 4 owners, as I say. I'm the current one. It may have had more, in actual fact. It's not been that well looked after, hasn't been that well maintained. It still cocks and shoots, and it produces around, well, it depends on the pellets you use, but I can get about 6 to 6.5 pounds of energy out of this. It's long since stopped dieseling, but it would have been smoking like a dragon at one time, as they all do, because they're packed in several gallons of crude oil before they're shipped. The worst thing at the moment is the stock. It's made of that unspecified Chinese hardwood that wouldn't look out of place on a wooden pallet. It's too light for the gun, which tends to make it feel barrel end heavy. It ruins the balance. But all that aside, I'm not going to change the stock. I'm just going to sort it out. It's got some really nasty splits and chunks and bits where it's been abused. It's got a bit of a crack or split starting up at the top there at the back of the action, which needs sorting out. I'm not going to try and make this wood look any better than it does now, because that isn't possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it. It's going to be a satin black finish to look like a synthetic stock. I think a red dot is the way to go, and everything else, you'll just get a thorough clean, get rid of any remnants of that rust. I've already greased the spring, but I'll probably take it out. I could tune it, I could do something with the sleeve, perhaps. I don't know if it's worth it. The trigger, there's nothing I can do with the trigger. It's old school, single action, direct contact with the sear. There's nowhere to go with it. That's what it is. But it's a trigger, and when you pull it hard enough, the gun fires. And for somebody starting out, I think it's a great way to get going, to learn about air weapons, learn about recoil, and all the other things that you have to learn when you own one of these. Now, you can buy a brand new one between sort of 50 and 60 pounds. They are better now, there's no two ways about it. The quality of the timber and the metal works better. The bluing's much the same, it's still a bit on the thin side. But having said that, here we are, 30 years down the road, rust cleaned off. There's still an awful lot of the original blue in good condition and still there. Probably the worst thing is the stock, isn't it, really? It's yuck. This is quite a good one as well. So I'll give it a quick shoot. I'll put, say, 5 or 6 into a target at open sights. Let's push it out and go 20 yards and see how I get on. It's tipping down with rain, but I'm hoping to get a break in the showers to get out there. So I'll do that, and I'll come back and we'll see what we've got, and I'll tell you exactly what I plan to do. So it's not a review as such, it really is just a little look at what I'm up to. When this goes to its new home, as I always say, I hope I can, get that new owner to come back and do some shooting with me and get some video. Hasn't happened so far. It's worth a shot. Anyway, I'll be right back. So there we are. Now that was quite a bit of holdover, and you see the first shot's quite a way off. Didn't think that one through, but you can see that this gun can group. They're not fantastic groups. It's not ever going to be an accurate gun. It's not going to win you any medals or prizes. What it will do is it will knock over tin cans. It will put holes in the target, and it will teach you an awful lot about shooting. Now this particular one, as I say, it's old. It's not been that well looked after, but it's going to come back to life. It's going to look good, and it's going to carry on shooting for many years to come. One of the interesting things about this, I think, is this catch assembly, which is the dead giveaway. Straight away you know it's a B2 rifle. You couldn't mistake it for anything else. 30 years down the road, it's still there, it still works. It actually cocks very easily. Now that's not bad at all for a youngster or a new shooter, just a good way to start. It comes back up and it locks in pretty well. There's not very much movement on that. Now there's no safety on this whatsoever, so it's a bear trap in a wooden stock. That said, it can be decocked. I forgot about the catch. Shows you how long it's been since I've had one of these. So you put it down the old-fashioned way, keep a good grip on it as you would anyway, depress the trigger and then release the tension in the spring. Used to do that an awful lot when I was a youngster. Often get all set up for a shot and then the situation would change. I would never go hunting with one of these. Now you could go pesting, maybe rats, squirrels at fairly close range, but I wouldn't. I don't think it's accurate enough. I don't think it'd be humane, and it's probably not powerful enough, truth be told. I say it depends on the pellets. I've been firing, well actually I've got quite a selection. I've just used some Spitfires, SMK Spitfires, which aren't too bad at all with this. It also likes some of the H&Ns. Not all of them, but some of them. Every rifle is different, every barrel is different. They've all got their sort of preferred fuel, and you have to find that by working your way through a few. But the bottom line is, this is not a bad rifle. This was probably 25 quid new, if that. We're a long way down the road. It's still working, it's still hitting the target. It's got plenty of years in it. If someone looks after it, it might go on for another 30 years, you never know. So my plan is to take the action back out, clean off the last of the rust. There's a few bits and pieces hiding that I've got to get to, get that out of there. Oil it back up, put some fresh grease in. I put some lithium grease in just to try it out really, so I wasn't sure it was even going to work. And it does. So I'll put some decent molly in there. You won't need much. I'm not going to try and line a cylinder or mess around with the piston, and I'm certainly not going to touch the trigger because there's nothing there to fiddle around with, and because of its age, everything that can wear has worn. I'm not going to change any parts. I'm just going to make it look much nicer and gift it to somebody to get them into the sport. Anyway, that's it for today. It is just a quick really look around and chat. I'll be honest, I do like these. They are awful, but I do like them because I grew up with them. You know, this was my introduction to shooting, and anyone who's been down the same route probably feels the same. There's an awful lot of snobbery around air guns and the cost of air guns and the brand, and even down to the timber that they're made from. Yeah, okay, in reality probably none of that matters. At the end of the day, this is a working air rifle. It is a proper air rifle. It will do what an awful lot of more expensive ones will do. Once you get to double this price, or 1.5 times this price, yeah, things change drastically. You're getting something much better. But if you just want to dip your toe in the water and try out airgun shooting, if you've not done it before, you don't want to spend 300 quid on an air rifle. Really. Anyway, I will go. Thanks very much. Please like and subscribe. A big thank you to everyone who has liked and subscribed. I'll be back soon. Until then, bye for now.